Welcome to Stephen AI TV, America at War, Iran under attack.
So that was the official line from the White House. A confident prediction broadcast on national television that this whole thing would be quick, decisive, a simple affair. But as we all know, what's said in front of the cameras is one thing. The reality on the ground? Well, that was a much, much darker story, already taking shape.
Because while Washington was talking, Tehran's answer wasn't a strongly worded letter. It wasn't a diplomatic protest. It was kinetic. It was a direct military strike. Their response wasn't a press release. It was fire, it was smoke, and it just set the entire region on a terrifying new path.
Okay, so let's get into the lead story for this week's AI Weekly Digest, because this is really something else. It's a coronation born directly from conflict. See, the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was supposed to be a decapitation strike against the Iranian regime. But instead, it backfired, triggering an act of defiance that absolutely shattered American expectations and, well, it's escalated this into a full-blown generational war.
And what you've really got to notice here is the sheer speed of these events. This isn't happening over weeks or months. It's a direct, rapid-fire chain reaction. A son takes his murdered father's place, the U.S. basically laughs him off on TV, and then boom, within hours, a missile slams into a critical oil refinery. This isn't just policy anymore, right? This is personal. This is a blood feud playing out on the world stage for everyone to see.
And let's be absolutely clear, this isn't some puppet or some figurehead they've installed. Mojtaba Khamenei is 56 years old. His power, his influence, it's deeply, deeply rooted within Iran's security forces and, maybe even more importantly, their massive business empires. So the idea that he was just some temporary placeholder, that seems to have been a profound and, frankly, a dangerous miscalculation. This guy represents the most hardline elements of the Iranian state.
And that strike, well, it was their opening chess move, and it was brilliant. Hitting the Babco refinery in Bahrain was not random. It was a calculated, strategic masterstroke, a direct slap in the face to U.S. interests in the region. The message couldn't be clearer. We can turn off the world's energy funnel anytime we want. Your sanctions mean nothing when we control the flow.
So that first missile strike had immediate, and I mean immediate consequences that rippled outwards. And one of the very first casualties of this new war, a fragile, high-stakes peace initiative over in Gaza.
For weeks, these delicate negotiations had been inching forward, making what looked like real progress. But on February 28th, the day this conflict truly exploded, all that work just came to a screeching halt. The White House, of course, denies there's a stall, but the reality is this ambitious plan to finally end the Gaza conflict, it's not just on hold, it is on life support, gasping for air.
Now, the whole deal hinged on the disarmament of Hamas. But think about it from the perspective of the key funders, the UAE and Qatar. They're now asking a pretty reasonable question. Wait, why are we supposed to pour millions of dollars into a board of peace when we're busy dodging rocket fire from Iran's proxies? Their investments are literally going up in smoke. Their patience is gone.
And this right here, this is where we start to see the real limits of old-school, traditional analysis. A missile launch over here causes a diplomatic collapse over there. The sheer speed of these cascading events is a weapon in itself. So, how can anyone possibly keep up? How do you connect the dots when the entire board is on fire?
And believe me, the ripple effects of this aren't just contained to the region. No, they're shaking the very foundations of the Western alliance. What they call the special relationship is fracturing right before our eyes, creating a massive crisis of legitimacy for the entire military campaign.
I mean, it doesn't get much starker than this, does it? In Washington, they're calling this Operation Epic Fury. It sounds grand, powerful, righteous. But in Dublin, and frankly across a lot of Europe, they're calling it something else entirely, a shocking violation of the UN Charter. The gap between those two viewpoints isn't a gap anymore. It's a chasm.
And look, this isn't some quiet disagreement behind closed doors. The Irish president, Catherine Connolly, delivered what's being called a numbing public rebuke. By framing the U.S. action as a shocking violation of international law, a key European ally has basically stood up and declared the entire operation illegitimate. This isn't just a splinter, this is a deep moral break.
Okay, let's bring all this geopolitical drama right to your doorstep. Because the most immediate weapon in this new kind of war isn't a missile, it's the price of oil. The economic dagger has hit its mark, and we are all about to feel it.
There's the number. Over $100 a barrel for crude. And you want to know the scary part? Every analyst agrees on one thing. There is no ceiling in sight. This is not a temporary spike. This is the new reality of a long, drawn-out conflict.
And the financial markets? They're already bracing for impact. What you're looking at here is what they're now expecting from the European Central Bank. 2 massive interest rate hikes before the year is even over. And why does that matter to you? Well, they're trying to fight a tidal wave of war-fueled inflation, and that means higher borrowing costs for everything. Your mortgage, your car loan, everything.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. Here's what it looks like on the ground. Today, in the UK, the Chancellor is holding emergency meetings about the insane price of home heating oil. Over in Northern Ireland, people are calling the price hikes at the gas pump mind-boggling. And the opposition, they're already warning that this isn't some short-term blip. This is the beginning of long-term systemic economic damage.
All right, let's wrap this week's digest up with some final intel. These are the last few pieces of the puzzle that our analysis has flagged as absolutely critical, so listen close.
Okay, here it is, fast and dirty. Those regional funders, they're not just investors anymore. They are now targets, literally dodging rocket fire. The consensus is shifting fast. This is not a short, limited strike. This is the opening act of a conflict that could destabilize the entire planet. Intel from inside Tehran is crystal clear. The hardliners believe they are just getting started. And while the White House keeps hinting that this war is almost over, every single piece of data we have on the ground says it is just beginning.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty sobering question to think about. In a world where conflicts cascade this quickly, where economic and diplomatic war is waged in microseconds, is our human ability to simply watch and react still enough to keep us safe? And that's the latest from Stephen AIFM, America at War, Iran under attack.